Super, super. So I'll start out by saying I'm a pretty informal, casual presenter. So if you have questions, go ahead and use the raised hand function or throw it into the chat. I'm happy to answer questions as we go along. I'm not too formal about that. So as she said, my name is Lyn Peters, Director of Communications, Financial Education and Outreach with the Department of Financial Institutions. Need to start with the disclaimer.
Lyn, I'm sorry. I'm afraid we lost your audio.
Am I back?
You are back. So
okay.
sorry.
Okay, good. I must have touched the wrong button. This is the problem with having these things on the little cord down at the end. It's like if I lean forward, I turn things off. Okay, I start with a disclaimer. The opinions expressed today by me are my opinions only, not those of my agency or the colleagues that I work with. And we cannot recommend or recommend entities or products, and we do not recommend specific investment products. I cannot give you financial advice. I can give information, but not advice. So start with that. I will also start with, I was the poster child for what not to do until I started working at DFI. I was 40 years old when I started working at DFI. And I literally had done everything that you're not supposed to do with your money except for file for bankruptcy, like everything else. I had used payday loans, I had used pawn shops, I used a debt consolidation company that got me into trouble. Everything you can think of. I was up to my eyeballs in debt. I had student loans, car loans, credit card debt. Never thought I'd ever own a home. Never thought I'd get out of debt. But I'm also living proof that you can literally do everything wrong and come back on the outside of that, right? So took the information that I learned working at DFI, put it to use in my life. My husband got laid off the year that I started working here, and we realized, oh, we'd never set a budget. So we set a budget. I put everything in Excel, figured out where we were spending our money, figured out how to reduce our expenditures, where our leaks were. By the way, I know where most of the happy hours in all of Tacoma are, because that was our biggest expenditure, was restaurants. That's how we started saving money. So he was able to go to school. He did take out student loans, but he was able to go to school and not work. So we were able to save enough money that I paid the bills and he took care of his school, and that's how that worked. So living proof you can make all the wrong decisions and still come back from it. I equate money to diet and exercise. It's the same thing, right? You have to budget your calories, you have to budget your money, you have to exercise regularly, you have to stay on top of your money goals, you have to stay on top of where your money's going. If you don't use what works for you, it's not going to work. I did P90X. We were great. We did it for 90 days and then I stopped and gained all the weight back. So for money, I put things in Excel. I do my bills every payday. I have learned how to, what do they call it? Set it and forget it. So I set my retirement allocations ahead of time. They're taken out of my paycheck. I never see them. So I know what I'm working with. This is what I'm working with, and my money is already set aside for retirement. So living proof you can do all the wrong things, still come out on top. I was able to buy a house, paid off my student loans, paid off my car. Now I have another car loan. Have gotten myself out of credit card debt, got back into credit card debt when I bought the house, because of course you have home projects, right? Digging myself out again, but living proof you can make all the mistakes and still move forward. I do have money set aside for retirement. I'm lucky in that sense, but I also know that retirement is not necessarily what it was when our grandparents retired. Retirement has changed. A lot of folks now realize that they don't want to just sit in a rocking chair on the porch. They want to have a different career. And there's been a few books written about it. There's a woman who wrote a book in conjunction with the AARP and the Investor Protection Trust, where she tells stories about people who they did the job that made the money, that bought the house, that bought the cars, that paid for their retirement. And then when they retired, they did the job that they always wanted to do. One of them was a military person whose job was to coordinate troop movement. and he always wanted to join the circus. So when he retired, he joined the circus and coordinated the circus movements. So there are different things that you can do, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So today we're talking about retirement, how to get there. We're going to go through a couple of different stages: early stages, middle stages, and close to retirement. It really is never too late to start. This is why we call it Start Today and Retire Tomorrow. That's the START program. While national statistics are not always positive, they indicate most of us are not saving enough for our futures that we want tomorrow. The good news is that if we make changes today, we can create a better tomorrow. We know that doing the right thing is sometimes more difficult than doing the wrong thing, right? It's really easy to eat the donut as opposed to having the carrot. It's difficult sometimes to put money aside for retirement instead of buying the big screen TV or the new car. But when we make those decisions and we can remind ourselves about the end game, it's important, and you can get there. So I want everybody in the room to think about, online rather, in the Zoom room, to think about a time that you made a really good financial decision. And it's okay if you got to go back to middle school and say, I saved my birthday money and allowances for something that I wanted to buy. I feel like I made a really good decision when I started working at DFI and I started paying off my debt. I paid off my car, I paid off my student loans, I paid off my credit cards, I started saving money, and we were able to buy a house. And I can tell you that this house has been my saving grace. It's the solace that got me through COVID. It's been home to amazing family gatherings. We are the host for the holidays. So it has become like the core center part of our lives. So I feel really good about that decision. And I want everybody to think about what your best financial decision that you may have made in your life, and keep that in mind, knowing that you can make solid decisions, you can make sound decisions, even if you feel like you're not ready for retirement today. So this program, the Start Today and Retire Tomorrow, was developed by the North American Securities Administrators Association, the other NASAA. They started this as an easy way to talk about retirement goals with some checklists and tips. I have put those in the chat function. If you joined afterwards, you may not have it. Let me see if I can no, it'll get sent out to you with the follow-up email. It has checklists. Here's the things that you should be doing at different stages of your life, right? They're going to address retirement goals with easy to follow checklists, tips, resources to help you make those decisions as you go through. The 3 stages often mirror life stages. Like you've got your young graduate who's starting life on your own, midlife employees with families and kids in schools, those who also need to consider long-term goals for their parents and children as part of their retirement, the sandwich generation. There's information on that as well. That's kind of where I am. Just had to move my mom into an adult family home. Her dementia has gotten so bad that it's really not safe for her to be in a home without 24/7 care, but also have my own household that I'm taking care of as well. I don't have kids, I have dogs, but sometimes they're like having toddlers. And then there's the folks who are like 5 years or less away from potential retirement, and how you approach these different stages of your life will be unique to you, and what you're planning to do. Are you going to go back to school at night? Are you going to earn a higher education? Are your parents aging and wanting to move in with you? We just moved my father-in-law in with us. He's splitting his time between us and his other son in Idaho. Is your idea of retirement opening a business or starting a career that you always wanted? There are some folks who've said, now that I'm retired and can afford to take a chance, I'll open that bakery that I've always wanted to run, or the coffee shop that I've always wanted to run. The big thing I want to tell people is just remember, it's never too late to save more for retirement. And even if you have a big financial setback, which, hello, COVID set everybody back a little bit, dust yourself off, review the situation, make decisions based on where you're at, where you want to be, and what you're willing to do to get there. Keep in mind that winning the lotto should never be your retirement plan, although a recent AARP survey said that 21% of Americans believed their only way to retire would be winning a lotto. but maybe that won't be the goal. And maybe putting your change in a jar for savings once a year will help you get that next step. Go buy some bonds, go buy some mutual funds instead of lotto tickets. So retirement is a journey, not a destination. It takes time to get there. I think we all think of retirement as it's the day that you end working and then that's it, but they don't plan for what's next. And I will tell you, if you're a couple, you need to plan for what's next and you need to have a conversation about what's next, because your version of retirement may not be what your partner's version of retirement is. And I've seen people just about ended up divorced because of that. My father was one of them. There are actually people whose job is to be a retirement coach to help you work on that. So have conversations about what that looks like and what you want to do. My husband and I are talking about it now. We would like to do small trips, touring the country with our dogs, probably in like a van, and then stay at hotels because I like lights that turn on and toilets that flush. So the START program offers 3 phases for your retirement journey: early career, mid-career, late career, and we're going to go through those. So how do you picture your retirement? There's going to be some slides, some pictures that run through of different ways that you picture retirement. Think about what you want your retirement to look like, and if you can put something in chat and tell me what you think about. For me, I want to be a doggy daycare person because as this person here is a gardener, I don't dig in dirt. Golfing is not my bag. I'm a hazard to small woodland creatures. I like to travel, but I don't know. My husband hates to fly, so it'll all be within the US, those kinds of things. Those are what our retirement looks like. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time at home, right? Think about what you want your retirement to look like. Is it going to be poolside? Are you going to be having some quiet time at home? Are you hanging out with grandkids? Are you a fisher person? My husband is a bass fisherman, so I know where he's going to be. He's going to be on his boat out in a lake somewhere. My mom is a gardening type person. I did not get those genes. I am the plant killer. Are you a golfer? I have friends who are retired who are spending their lives on golf courses. They are absolutely ecstatic about it. I have former neighbors who bought an RV and they travel the country in an RV. I have another friend who said she was just going to be on cruises. She was selling her house and just going to be on cruises from here to the end of time. And then there's folks who have hobbies, right? Woodworkers, things like that. What do you want your retirement to look like? And have that conversation with your partner and your loved ones so you know what that looks like. And then start thinking about how much it costs you, how much you need to have in order to retire. Increasing numbers of working adults are preparing to retire without this traditional safety net of a defined pension plans. If you work for the state, you have a pension plan. There are a few other careers that have pension plans. If you don't have a pension plan, you're most likely going to be reliant on Social Security and whatever you have in your 401k or your company retirement. It's really important to not just rely on one thing. Don't have all your eggs in one basket, right? So one of the things that we know is Social Security, if the feds don't fix it, is going to be running out of money. They're going to have reduced benefits for everybody in, I think it was 2024, might be 2028 now. There's going to be reduced benefits because of the number of people who are retiring, the amount of money, the longer that we live. That's the other reason, we're living into our 80s, 90s, and sometimes hundreds. You need to make sure that your money is going to last. You don't want to retire and only have money for 10 years, but then live 30 more years after that. Think about the longevity in your family, about when you were going to retire. I worked with somebody who retired early. I was floored. I couldn't believe she retired at 62. And I was like, what are you doing? Well, no one in her family had lived to the age of 70. No one. So her retirement planner said, even though you're in great shape and great health, you need to think about retiring early because your family history says you're not going to make it to 70. So you need to retire now and enjoy as much of it as you can. Having a plan is crucial to success. $1 today won't be worth $1 tomorrow. That's an unfortunate fact. So take inflation and potential tax bracket implications into account for your investment planning. Current money gurus are saying we need $1 million plus per person to retire comfortably. Covering basic living expenses, health insurance is your #1 expense, and living until our late 80s and 90s. Few of today's employers offer the pensions. Many just don't even offer retirement plans at all. So you need to look at how you're going to take care of this. Does your financial institution have a financial planner you can work with? Have you started working with a financial planner or advisor? If you haven't and you're getting ready to, I strongly advise you to make sure that they're licensed and regulated and that they are licensed to do what they do, and make sure that they're working for you. Do your due diligence. I tell people it's very much like getting a doctor or a dentist, only they have their hands all over your money instead of in your mouth. What we're told is that to live at or below your current spending, you need 8, 10, or 12 times your current salary to retire. 70 to 90% of your yearly full-time income per year is what you need to plan to be retired. So again, much like diet and exercise, the sooner we start making decisions that we know we should be making, the better off you're going to be, like putting aside 10% or more. Now they say 20%, right? The better off you'll be later. It's hard to start exercising when you're 100 pounds overweight. Trust me, I did it. I started last year. I lost 60 pounds last year. It is possible. Same thing with your money. You can start putting money aside and watch it grow. Make sure that you work with somebody who can help you get that retirement growing as quickly as possible. Even with a state plan, we have the Department of Retirement Systems who can work with you on making sure that you're getting the right split on your retirement to get the best growth. If you wait until you're less than 10 years from retirement to start investing, it becomes much more difficult, but better late than never. Just like anything else, like once you stop smoking, your lungs begin to repair. Even if you don't start until you're in your 40s or 50s, at least if you're getting money growing and invested, it will compound. Gen X, this is me, we're falling short. We're falling very, very short. Most of us are going to be working well into our 70s, and we are looking at a much reduced retirement, much less than a lot of other folks. To retire at age 65, we should have invested significantly more throughout our working career, and most of us did not. So in today's dollars, a person should have invested $38,000 or more. That's a single man, or a woman should have invested $74,000. It's because we live longer, just so you know. Married couples should have invested $21,000 more per person. This is more. We should have invested more, not a total more. This is how much more we should have invested. So you look for ways that you can cut back on money that you can put it into investing. For my husband and I, like I said, when we were saving money, instead of going out to our favorite restaurant and having a very expensive meal, we learned about happy hours. Our friends, we do potlucks and we have really amazing meals. I drove my Hyundai Elantra until it had 247,000 miles on it, and I was sure the little wheels were going to fall off before I bought another vehicle. And I know that I'm going to be paying on it for the next 4 years. I got a short loan, low interest rate, but once that payment is done, then I'm going to be putting that money back into my retirement. While retirement planning can seem intimidating, it really is never too early or too late to start. Make sure that you get going. There's some links on the bottom of these as well. This one goes to choosesave.org ballpark. So it gives you an idea of how long the money you're saving right now is going to last. Mine told me I could retire for about 6 months. So when I last did it a few years ago, so not so great. Now I think I've got a couple of years, which is good. It's getting better every year, right? So I'm doing a little bit more every year. The big thing is make sure you pay down your debt. Most folks say you want to have your home paid off, so your biggest investment and your biggest expense is paid off, so that you can focus on your next biggest expense. Once we quit working, our insurance is no longer covered. You have to pay for your insurance. And talking to my family, insurance is the #1 cost, and it's very expensive the older we get. Credit card debt is another one. You want to make sure that you're paying that off. And once you pay that off, put that towards your investment. It's not rocket science. It's just difficult sometimes. So we just want to make sure that we're making those little choices as we go. So we start smart, early career. The first phase of planning for your retirement begins the minute you enter the workforce on a permanent full-time basis. So if you have kids, this is a great time to start talking to your kids about this. Make sure that they understand the importance of setting money aside. A lot of times it's overwhelming. You know, I've got somebody starting a job on Monday, and I get it. It's like drinking from a fire hose that first day, right? You've got all the forms you got to fill out, your HR forms and your retirement forms and your investment forms and blah, 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 blah. It never ends. But it's really important to read it, have somebody you trust who understands it and gets it, who understands the investing, or a financial planner talk to you about it. A lot of agencies and organizations offer that additional employee assistance program that offers financial planning and counselors who can help you with this kind of thing. If not, talk to a financial planner advisor and get the conversation started. Once you've got your emergency fund set aside, you need to really start bulking up that amount that you're putting away for retirement, because it does take a lot of money to retire, but you need to be prepared for those curveballs, right? So, you know, my new hire just had one of those the other day. I had loaned her my car, the 247,000 miles, and she got hit by somebody yesterday. She hasn't even started work, and out of the gate, we're behind the ball, right? She now doesn't have a car to drive. We're trying to figure out how to get her an apartment without her having a car to go look at places. But she's smart. She set money aside. She's going to be able to rent a car and go do all these things in the meantime. While retirement may not be your primary concern, it should be a consideration, even if you're in the early stages. We all think, you know, well, first of all, we all think we're going to live forever, right? We don't have a sense of mortality when we're in our 20s. Yes, I'm going to talk quick, so we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And I'm going to zip through some of these other ones. It should be something that's in the back of our minds. I think in our 20s and 30s, retirement is not something we think about. It's something that we think is never going to come to us. But as we get older and we see our family members get there, we realize that the decisions we make today are going to have a major impact later in life. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about two different retirement stories. The photos on the left are my mom's parents, and the photos on the right are my husband's father. So on the left, my grandparents spent their money in their working years. So they bought nice new cars, they bought nice clothes, they built a lovely home, they bought very reliable, solid furniture. This, by the way, this furniture is in my house today. That's how reliable and solid it is. We did a lot of homemade things at Christmas, but they invested in the things that they knew they wanted for retirement early on. But that meant they didn't save as much for retirement, like long-term health care, things like that. My father-in-law, on the other hand, was the epitome of penny pincher his whole life, so that he could really experience the good life in retirement. So he buys a new car, a fairly expensive car, every 2 years now. He just built an addition onto one of his son's house that ran about $150,000, and he got everything he ever wanted in this house, including a 70-gallon bathtub. Yep, 70. What you want to do in your retirement, you should be thinking about that as you spend money. My grandparents wanted to stay home and hang out, so they invested in their home. My father-in-law wanted nice things, so he invested so that he could buy nice things in his retirement. Think about what you want your retirement to look like. So visualize your retirement. What position do you want to be in financially? Does the job you have provide enough income as well as health and retirement benefits for your needs? Do you know what you're doing? Do you understand the basic investment principles that will help you make investment decisions? And if you don't, do you know where to find those folks? The attachment that will be sent out to you afterwards has links on how to go verify There's a couple of different places you can go to find advisors and planners. And then there's like, you can find them here on our website, and to verify that they're licensed also at our website. These are big questions for people who are just starting out. But as you get further along in your career, you want to make sure that you're checking these things out. Take full advantage of any retirement options that you have through work. If it's a fully matched 401k, personal IRA, tax sheltered account possibilities, are there other things you could be doing? And are your current spending, saving, and investment habits going to get you to your goal? Always keep an eye on your goal. Start small, but start today. Estimate how much money you're going to need. We talked about that 70 to 90% of your income at retirement, depending on your lifestyle. Consider having a financial professional help you. Understand the designation after professionals' names, because alphabet soup doesn't necessarily mean everything. I've seen one that said CHG, that meant certified high school graduate. Always ask them what that means and make sure that it's a legitimate designation. Verify that your investment principal is properly licensed. You can do that at NASAA or dfi.wa.gov, and make sure you understand their fees for services, if it's an hourly or commission or a flat fee, and know where your money is going for, and that your product is properly licensed. Ask if your employer sponsors or matches contributions to a retirement or health benefits program. If not, this is outdated. I should have removed that because my IRA is gone now, but the state does have an investment program, and I will put that link in the chat before we're done today. But look at your different options and see what's out there. Look at other life decisions that might impact your retirement resources, such as, if you're in early career, the decision to have children. Are you going to own a home? Are you going to purchase investments? Are you going to rent? Are you going to be a condo person? These are not everybody needs to own a home. That's the other thing I'm going to put out right up front. My stepdad should never have owned a home. He hates yard work, he hates maintenance, and he hates cleaning. So condo's a great way for him to go. Manage your wants and needs when you're making your purchases. This is, how many times did our parents tell us this, right? It's important because as you require assets, you want to make sure you're using your credit responsibly, keeping your debt in check. You're keeping a high credit score, so you're paying less for things. One of the best investments you can make throughout your working life is to minimize and control debt. That is my number one issue that I try and stay on top of, and am working to pay off again. Poster child for what not to do, still fixing her problems. Understand the basic principles such as compound interest, risk and reward, and diversification. Don't put everything in the same basket. Make sure that you understand you're getting a good return, but know what a basic return is. If somebody tells you you're going to get a 25% return on something, you need to ask them how. That's not the standard. Over the life of an investment, 10% is a general investment in the stock market. Usually 2 to 3% is usually what you'll see on most things. So make sure you're asking those questions. If you're in the mid phase of things, mid-career, assess yourself. Take a look at it. Am I on track? Am I headed in the right direction? I would say I'm mid-career, but I'm actually probably closer to late career, but I'm looking at it saying, am I on track? I'm kind of there. I need to invest more. I need to strike a balance between saving for the retirement I want and enjoying the lifestyle I have now. Luckily, buying the home really kind of reduced a lot of my expenses, in the sense that I don't go on vacation as much. I stay home. I like being home. I bought the car because I needed it, because 247,000 miles, I was running the risk of not having a vehicle before too long. What does balancing needs and wants mean to you? Do you buy a new car, or do you buy a pre-owned vehicle? Do you buy a large home, or are you going to do tiny house living? I know people who have a thing for high-end shoes. I'm all about what's not going to hurt my foot. Dining and entertainment out versus Netflix and Stouffer's mac and cheese, although I prefer, Beecher's mac and cheese. Bottled wine versus boxed wine, making more money versus having more free time. I have friends whose sole goal is to have side gigs and be constantly looking at making more money, but they don't have a lot of free time to go do things. Name brands at the grocery store versus generic brands. I tell people shop high and low. The highest cost items will always be at eye level. Those are usually the name brand items. If you go high or low, you'll find the generic versions and the lower cost versions of just about anything. Vacation versus staycation. I'm very much a staycation kind of person. I love being home. Smartphone versus flip phone. I can tell I did this a while ago. I don't even know if you can buy it. Well, you can buy a flip phone through AARP, the Jitterbug. That's about the only one I know of still. Think about lower phone plan. Westin Oaks Hotel versus any hotel with the word in it, or associated with a number like the Cozy Eights or Motel 6 or something like that. I'm not quite that level, but Comfort Inn, yeah, I'll do those. I'm not a super high-end hotel person because I'm just going to sleep there. All I want is sheets that smell like bleach and a clean floor, and I'm pretty happy. Think about the things that are important to you. I am part of the sandwich generation in that I am now trying to take care of my mom, who is an adult family home, and helping my stepdad through this process. It does put a strain on you. It has put a strain on my household and my husband. We are our lives are not our own right now for the next couple of months, trying to downsize my stepdad, get him moved into a condo, help my mom adjust to her adult family home. This is also costing money because we are moving things out of their house and storing things places. And I'm trying to find the best places for those things to go. If you end up taking care of those folks, if you end up being an in-home caregiver, which is the plan for my father-in-law, that also will put a strain on your retirement savings if they have not already planned. Luckily, my mom bought long-term care insurance back in the day. It's difficult to get these days. It's very expensive these days, but it is worth it if you have a longevity in your family. My family would live maybe mid-80s, but on my dad's side, 100 is not out of reach. So I want to make sure that I'm planning for that long term. Define what retirement means to you and convert your conclusions to cost and savings. Do that reality check. There's a checklist in the sheet that I'm sending out. Add up your sources of retirement income, pension, retirement plan, Social Security. Do you have rental property that you're going to have money coming in? Do you have a side business that you've got stuff coming in? Add all of that stuff up and figure out what you're going to be able to do, and assume that you'll need as much in retirement as you do now or more because of the insurance issue, and strive to achieve that balance between what you want now and what you're looking for in retirement in the future. My big thing is I want to pay off my house. That's my number one thing. I got to get the house paid off so that I can live comfortably in my home, especially without kids. We are actually going to probably do a reverse mortgage because we don't have children. Nobody's relying on that house to be inherited. And we'll use that to pay for all long-term care because we can't afford the long-term care insurance. For my husband and myself, it's $800 a person right now, which is a lot. Not really ready to do that. So also remember to count for inflation. $1 today won't be worth $1 tomorrow. Take these things and tax bracket implications into accounting when you consider your investment strategies, right? Read your statements quarterly, cross-check them, talk to your financial professional about any questions you might have, and make sure you understand the answers. If you don't understand the answers, ask more questions. If they aren't giving you answers that you understand, you might need a different financial planner. My feeling is that their job is to help you with your retirement and make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. Again, balance your needs with caution, consider reasonable risk and asset diversification. I've got pretty good diversification. I have no tolerance for risk. So I actually have the portfolio of like an 80-year-old. My 80-year-old father-in-law actually helps me with it. He invested in Starbucks in the early 90s, so I trust his judgment. We talk about it regularly. He's constantly trying to push me to go a little bit further. Risk is very scary to me. When I watch the stock market going up and down, I get nauseous. I check my investments twice a year. I don't do it quarterly, but I check it twice a year and just make sure things are on track, make sure that things are getting where they're going to go. I have very simple retirement plans. I want to work at a doggy daycare. That's my thing. As your retirement approaches, you might find that your level planning and types of investment decisions have left you with fewer savings than you envisioned. So you need to assess things. Sometimes, the stock market gets crazy. You might consider working longer. You might move to working part-time in retirement. Some folks have that motto of, I need a reason to get out of bed. I'm kind of one of those people, which is why I'll go work at a doggy daycare. But, think about those things. Retirement today is different than it was before. Folks are not, we're living longer. They're not going to sit on a porch. They may not want to travel all the time. So having another job may not be out of line. I've talked to people who actually decided they wanted to go be a Walmart greeter because they love talking to people. That made their day. They go work as a Walmart greeter for 4 hours a day and have a great time. Uncertain economic conditions, boy, if the pandemic taught us anything, that was something, right? Think about layoffs, potential layoffs, wage freezes. A lot of people lost their jobs. The jobs didn't come back. Then we had the Great Resignation. I'm still wondering where everybody went to go work or how they're making their payments, unless they were incredible savers. But these are things to think about. Use additional income from raises or elimination of debt to add to the retirement. So if you get a raise, throw it into retirement before you ever start spending it. That way you don't miss it if you can. Once you pay off your debt, put the money you had been paying on debt into retirement. That way it's building compound interest in the right way for you instead of debt load and the wrong way for you. Look at your estate planning. Do you have long-term care insurance? Do you have life insurance? Do you have medical insurance? There's a great website, GYST I think it's a .org. I can't say publicly what it stands for. Get your together. It is a great DIY kind of setup. It will link you to forms and attorneys and legal forms that you need to do. It's defined by state. What state are you in? It'll give you a sample will, sample living will, power of attorney, all that kind of life planning. It was developed by a woman who was a stay-at-home mom of 4. Husband was riding his bike to work, got hit by a car and killed. They did not have joint accounts, so she was locked out of their bank accounts. They did not have a power of attorney. They did not have a will, so everything was in probate and up in the air. It took her forever, and she was a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids trying to take care of all of this stuff. Do you have these things laid out? My husband and I had a big wake-up call when his mom died. And his father, my father-in-law, very smart man, by the way, remember, invested in Starbucks in the 90s. We discovered they did not have joint accounts, and he was locked out of the account where he paid all of his bills. So luckily, man was wealthy and had another account where he could move things and pay bills out of there. But not everybody has that, right? Make sure that you know what you need in case of emergency. I call it the ICE plan, in case of emergency, because life changes in a dime. My grandmother at age 86 pulled out in front of a roofing truck and went from being independent, living at home, taking care of things herself, to not being able to get dressed in the morning overnight. Luckily, she had power of attorney, life plan. She didn't have long-term care insurance, but she had things in place, so we knew what she wanted and we knew how to take care of her. But it's amazing how quickly life can change. For my mom, she had not planned on getting dementia at age 69 and being in an adult family home at 75. So we're scrambling a little bit. She had things in place, but she didn't have a written plan. So make sure you put that written plan in place for your loved ones, for your family, and for yourself, so that people know what you want. Are you going to be able to afford these or benefit from these when you retire, especially the life insurance and medical insurance? These are really important things. Updated will, power of attorney, and health directives are absolutely essential. Make sure that you have those. We need to update our wills. Looking at how things went with my mom, there's definite things I'm going to be adding, and long-term advanced directives of what I want. As you get closer to retirement, there's a lot of folks who are like really antsy about it. And COVID, we lost a lot of folks due to retirement. And COVID, they all decided, nope, I'm done, I'm out. In this last phase, you're likely at the peak of your earning capacity, which is good. A lot of folks, if you have a pension, they're based on the last few years of your pension. You're enjoying a lifestyle that you'd like to continue in a retirement. Usually if you're in your final 10 years, you're in that last stretch. But it's also the most important time to make sure you're hyper vigilant about making sure you're making sound financial decisions. Please be aware that retirees essentially have a huge red target on them where scammers are concerned. The thinking is that if you have enough money to retire, you've got a lot of money and we're going to find a way to separate you from your money. So retirees, elders are generally one of the top targets for fraud, for financial fraud. So make sure that you understand how to identify the signs of fraud, how to avoid fraud, and what to do if you're victimized. The number one thing I'm going to tell people is always report it. Don't be embarrassed, be mad, and get even. Report the people who victimize you if you are a victim of fraud. Make sure that the Attorney General's Office, Department of Financial Institutions, your local police department, whoever it is, needs to know so that we can go after these people and take them out of action. It's time to assess your savings up to date when you're 10 years out. You want to make sure that you feel comfortable, that you're adequately prepared for the type of retirement that you want. There are a variety of situations such as medical expenses, other unexpected a big one that I'm seeing with a lot of my friends right now, we're in our 50s, is cancer diagnoses. It takes a real toll on you. You end up having to take time off from work. Your insurance may not cover all of it. It could mean you have insufficient retirement funds and may have to work longer or find another way to fill those additional gaps. Make sure that you're looking at all the options. Is your home paid off? Is your car paid off? Is your debt paid off? Do you have affordable medical and dental insurance that covers the medical issues that adults face? Heart disease, diabetes, dentures, cancer, Alzheimer's. Do you have long-term care insurance to cover the cost of assisted living or in-home care? By the way, there are a myriad of in-home care companies out there now, so the options are much better than they used to be. If you don't have plans for these things, you need to start talking about it today. You need to have these conversations. They're not comfortable conversations, they're awkward conversations, they're important conversations, they're crucial conversations to have with your loved ones, to have with your partner, to have with your kids, to have with your family members, so that people know what you want. And as you move forward, that you're prepared for it. Excuse me. Something else that we're finding with folks who are in the retirement phase, like getting close, is we have an opioid epidemic in our country that got worse with the pandemic, and we are seeing seniors taking their retirement to put their kids through rehab. It's very expensive. It's very costly. A lot of times it doesn't work. It takes 2 or 3 times to get their kids through it. So they're taking 40, 50% of sometimes their retirement, trying to get their kids through this. There are other options. You should not be using your retirement to do this, because this is your last option for retirement. There are other options to get them through rehab if that comes up for your family. So please take those things into consideration. Talk to a financial counselor about that. Also consider that living your final years living abroad, if that's your choice, and I'm seeing a lot more people do that, requires a different set of retirement planning. And you might, so the cost of living might be less, but the cost of getting licenses and building permits, and you have to get dual citizenship, whatever it is, make sure that you understand all the different ramifications of doing that. Have a family member who's living down in Mexico, much less expensive, probably going to get his retirement further, but he's having to invest a lot up front for building a home that he wants to live in. Review your current budget and debt. Evaluate your investment strategy. Do you need to make adjustments to your portfolio to meet your retirement needs and goals? And they do say, as we age, those goals are different, right? So the younger we are, the more we should have invested in stocks and bonds. We can afford to take those risks, or in stocks and mutual funds. We can afford to take those risks. As we get older, we'll do less in the stocks, more in the mutual funds and bonds, because that's less risk. You want to make sure that you're risk appropriate for your age. What you don't want is to have, 90% of your stuff in stocks when you're 65 years old and have the stock market tank. Consider what you would do if you're laid off from your job or presented with early retirement options. If you're presented with early retirement options, make sure that you look at all the things that are included in that. There are some times that employers will encourage that due to the higher salary levels and health benefit costs, but make sure that you understand what that's going to cost you on the other end. Sounds great if they're giving you a nice severance, but if it doesn't include insurance, that could be expensive. And like I've said before, explore the option of part-time or alternative employment to retirement to supplement your savings. Plan ahead by participating in a training program or a college course to assist in this process if it's something that you want to go do that requires that. Review your investment portfolio to address your tolerance for risk and necessity for liquidity. So if something does happen, can you liquidate and have that money on hand? As you age, you have less time to catch up. So if you experience a loss, it's gonna be more expensive for you in the end. We've talked about inflation. It's very possible that if you retire too early, you could outlive your money. That's not a good thing. This is one of the things we warn people about. Reverse mortgages as well, is you could outlive the life of your loan and then you don't have a home unless you buy it back or rent it from the company that owns it at that point. So you want to be very careful with those things. Make sure that you've looked at all the options and totally understand it. Learning the warning signs of fraud. There are warning signs that are in the handouts. You'll see those. Stay on top of it. It's just like health. It's just like diet and exercise. Stay on top of it, save, invest, stay within your budget as much as you can. Keep an eye on it, reassess it on a regular basis. And think about, if money was not an issue, what would you do? What's your favorite thing that you would do? And see if there's a way that you could have a post-career retirement career doing that thing. For me, it would be working with dogs. So I'm probably going to go work at a doggy daycare or a doggy rescue. But these were some ideas that came up from people here in our agency. Someone decided they wanted to be an elder companion. That's a great thing, much needed these days, especially with as many boomers who are in their 70s now. Interior designer, I never would have done that. I don't have an eye for it. Fruit tree farmer, that one surprised me, but hey, great time to go take a risk. Think about what you would want it to be looking like, and then start today so you can retire tomorrow. Even after you retire, you're going to need to revisit your financial plan on a regular basis. Consider doing it annually with a financial planner or advisor. You can do this. Just don't make retiring, winning the lottery, part of your retirement plan. Be realistic about it. Those SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Start setting the money aside today and watch it grow. Don't touch it in case you have a separate emergency pool, and focus on it. Retirement can be an amazing thing. My father-in-law is the happiest person, one of the happiest people I know. His new motto is every day is Saturday, and he can do whatever he wants because he's scrimped and saved all through his earlier years so that retirement was exactly what he wanted. My grandparents lived very comfortably until the end of their days. My grandmother ended up coming to live with me in hospice. She ended up in a horrible accident that ended her retirement rather rapidly. But we took things into account. We had plans for her. She had things written down. She had plans. She did not outlive her retirement, but it was a meager retirement. But all she wanted to do was sit at home with her cats and watch TV anyway. So what do you want to do, and make a plan for it? So questions. I have spewed a ton of information your way. I have talked for almost an hour. Do we have questions?
That was just incredible. Thank
That
you
was a
so
lot.
much
Sorry.
for all that information. No, it's brilliant. I have a ton of notes. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and then we can do the Q&A. So thank you so much.